Yeah, so today we're going to talk about class, and we were already having a really rich discussion. Yasmin and Marilyn, you kind of started with some of your thoughts on that. Do you want to just like bring us in with your reflections?
Yeah, we're talking about class and language and how that can be translated differently in different class groups, where middle class or upper class people may perceive working class people to be more aggressive, um, or more rude, when they, their dialect is just different rather than wrong.
As workers working with people, where do we find that balance? How do we identify class? What does class really mean to us? What does that person really understand class is? And the language now, which is really also very important, is how do you identify your own language? Is it really suitable for that person? Does that person really understand that?
I guess people come from privileged backgrounds or certain educational background. It doesn't have to be privileged, just certain backgrounds that you use certain language all your life. What you've got to realize is that, do you know what, people use different language to express themselves. Well, it doesn't make them any less intelligent. It's just you just use shorter languages sometimes. And the work that I do, we work in criminal justice, and our biggest thing is, whether it's the adults or the young, it's disengagement, isn't it? And disengagement, people will go, it's about trust. And we go, well, do you know what? If you, it's not about you speaking the same way as them or trying to befriend them. It's about understanding that they do express themselves that way, and it's about understanding that language and being able to understand that language just as somebody else can understand yours.
I agree with that. It's all about me shifting, to understand what whoever it is trying to get over to me, rather than they shifting so that I can understand, because that's what usually happens. We expect the other to shift, but it's all about, as Mifta says, about us trying to understand. And if I'm not understanding, then I need to shift because I want to understand.
Empowering our community is, again, really, really very, very complex, because we try to make people want to fit in a particular box rather than making people feel comfortable with themselves, because you can only grow if you trust and have confidence in yourself. Again, as workers with people that are meant to be with that, if we can't afford as people that have to empower the society, we have to first of all take away the barrier of class, race, all of the things that we're talking about here. So I think, yeah, we have to make people feel comfortable with whatever language, whatever attire, or what, if you're in suit, I'm someone, I always love suits, yes, but it doesn't really mean someone who is not in suit should be different.
I think as well is being able to offer the same respect that we demand from other people, in general, and understanding that
Definitely.
their way is not necessarily a wrong way, it's just a different way. Being able to work with that and being more malleable, more relaxed with the way we communicate with each other.
Just letting people be people. I mean, like, I've worked with young people in criminal justice for years, and adults, and my biggest advantage is that, when we have young, like, we run groups, and I'm really fortunate, we've never had arguments, we never get disagreements in our groups in young people, and we have a simple rule: how you want to be treated is the way we'll treat you. But if one of my members of staff, you think I said something wrong, you have the right to challenge them there, but do it appropriately. Don't scream and shout. Go take them out of the room, have a conversation with them. And what that allows that young person to do is feel empowered that they're on the same level, but at the same time, they know they are still the young person, that we are the ones who are facilitating the groups, we're the ones who are leading it. But it doesn't mean you can't challenge it. You have to just come in and sit down and do as you're told, because then you're not empowered. You're doing what you're told to do, and someone's doing it for you rather than you doing learning.
In this millennial age, I would say class shouldn't really exist, and it's only when we have events like, say, the pandemic, say like when the Black Lives Matters things happen, that actually we keep on getting reminded of the fact that the class idea still exists. And the only way that, when Felicity says, how can you break that? The only way that we can, take that away is starting by actually, like Miftah said, educating the youngsters.
You also have to make people feel comfortable in every setting. If I'm to come in an interview and I meet everyone in suit and tie and very high, giving me titles and everything, and I didn't grow up with that, kind of setting, it's very intimidating. I think validation also is very, very important. If I'm coming to an event and someone is dressed in the trainers, of course the trainers is nice. It's just, it takes just a minute sometimes, to tell someone that this thing is nice, that your trainers is nice. Just that minute for you, but it might last a lifetime for that individual. Like this person appreciating my trainers, of which he's dressed up in suits, which I felt, oh, he's the one well dressed. So validation as well, and identifying people's other skills is very important. So I think those things also help out, for people to build their confidence and feel comfortable around different environments.
Going back a little while, I was working in HMP Maidstone, but I'd served 8 years in HMP Maidstone as an offender. So I went back in on as a manager for HMP Maidstone on a particular project, and I remember walking onto my old wing. And I used to be a gym orderly, so I spent all my lifetime in the gym in the prisons, and that was brilliant. And I went on this wing, and I remember seeing the wing manager and stuff, and he's sitting there and we're talking, and then the senior manager came out and he went, "Are you going to go make a cup of coffee?" I told him to go away and said, "Look, you need to bring me a coffee." And then a member of staff came along and went, "You're an ex-offender, you shouldn't be in this prison, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that." And I went to her, "Well, why not? I'm an ex-offender. I'm not offenders coming into this." And then I just went to her, "Well, why don't we just have a coffee with you? I'm having lunch with your governor. Let's have lunch with your governor, and you can tell her why I shouldn't be in your prison, because she's the one who brought me in. There's a value to me, the value that you haven't got, I have." And I'll be honest with you, it's not any different out here. Out here, like a few years back, a member of staff in Southwark went to me, "Why are you good at your job? And why do young people say this?" And he's a really well-spoken, well-educated person. And I went to him, "Have you ever smoked weed?" And he went, "No." I went, "You ever been stabbed?" And he went, "No." I go, "But you've read it all, yeah? And you know what the reading says and the research, but you don't really know what that feels like, do you?" And he went, "No." I go, "That's what makes me better at your job, because I know what it feels like." So you can have, my view is, you can have all the research, you can be the best academic person in the world, right? But what you're doing is you're reading a book to tell you what somebody's feeling. But unless you speak to that person and what their life's like, you can read a book about ghettos in America, ghettos in Africa, in England. Unless you've been there, spent a couple of hours with those people, you're never going to understand what a ghetto is. There's nothing wrong with research and being academic, and you need that in life, because it opens up your brain, it opens up different views, different experiences, make people grow, but they both need to complement each other.
For me, it comes that unless I have respect for myself, and I've been through that journey for myself, I cannot respect another. And then you become aware of your own internal prejudices, and then you will practice not to use them. For me, it's awareness, and that awareness is all about me. It's all about what's going on in me. How do I respond to whatever it is that's going on out there? But I have to make that journey of self-respect for myself.
Why should you not sit in a boardroom? Why should you not say your bit? You might not say it in the language that everybody wants to hear you in, but long as you're not rude and you can express yourself, go do it.
And I love about what Diego just said about going, and when somebody does go into that space that may not feel like it's their space, being really appreciative and validating who they are as they are, and that really gentle thing you gave us, Diego, of just going like, if somebody's in trainers, admire their trainers, like make whoever they are in that space, appreciate it. And Cheryl, I really love your thing of going like, look to your eye before you look to somebody else, because then you don't end up othering somebody.
That why should the working class change the way they dress, the way they talk to appease the middle class. That shouldn't even be a thing. We should be more accepting of each other's and each other's subcultures. Yeah, and it shouldn't really play a part in these misunderstandings. Shouldn't even be a thing, really.